Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We have with us a very special returning guest. He is the author of The White Pill, organizer of the Anarchist Handbook, and host of Your Welcome with Michael Malice. Ladies and gentlemen, the shortest and ugliest political commentator out there, Michael Malice. Thanks for having me. The big question I want to ask you is that Rogan clip where you went after Officer Harris went pretty wide. What was the backstory behind that clip?
Right.
If you're going after Officer Harris, you're either racist or sexist or ableist.
Right.
So they will use
Ableist.
Yeah, because she's a retard.
Jesus.
She's literally retarded. I mean, Ukraine is a country in Europe, and Russia is another country and a powerful country, and Russia invaded Ukraine, and that's wrong.
What's really important?
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
I think of her as America's wine mom because bitch seems like she's 3 deep by noon, and she's got the 3 phases of wine mom. She's got happy drunk. Oh my God, this cereal's got a rabbit on it. It's so great. Cackling, cackling, cackling.
Look at my face! Oh my God, I love it! Oh wow! Look at the bus! Wheels on the bus go round and round.
Then there is trying to drunk at work, where you're trying to make sense, but you don't. Space is around us all and unites us all and inspires us all.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Space is exciting. It spurs our imaginations, and it forces us to ask big questions. Space, it affects us all, and it connects us all.
And then there's I'm being stern so you don't realize how plastered I am, and I'm making a point. That little girl was me. Now I'm going to go upstairs and don't knock on the door because I'm going to pass out. So,
And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Well, I do want to talk about that clip at length. A lot went into it, even though it seemed kind of effortless. People have said, thank you for that compliment. So when Rogan called me to do the show, it was very early on when Officer Harris had been named as the successor to President Biden. And I knew this was an opportunity to kind of define her before the campaign got to define her itself. I don't begrudge anyone, even if you have the ideal candidate, of having like 100 days to put together a presidential campaign. That's just absolutely crazy. So I knew they would be going up against it. So I was on the fence about using that word, which I won't use now, the R slur. I'll tell you guys a story about that in a second. Because of all the slurs that are out there, that one is the one that I think is the most that makes sense. Like, if you think about people who are like mentally handicapped, is this really who you want to be taking a dump on in terms of putting people down? I mean, seriously, this is the one group where I had a friend who has a son who's on the spectrum and not that high functioning. Like, it's pretty clear something's off with him. And he was talking about it being the dad, and he goes, everything he has to do is harder. Just every single thing. And when you think about that, you know, and what life is like for someone who is mentally handicapped, it's like these guys got the short end of the stick. They're good people generally. They they're happy, they try to live a normal life, and it's kind of frustrating sometimes for them. There's this amazing ice cream shop here in Dallas, and it's staffed entirely by people who are mentally handicapped. And I don't mean women, there's both genders. And what's fascinating is you have a hierarchy, because the guy who has Down syndrome is like the manager, and then you have the people who cannot help the fact they're born fucked up, and they are clearly significantly less intelligent than him. So he's there all like frustrated that they can't figure out how to do the scoops. So it's really, really cute to see that sort of interaction. And a friend of mine has a son who has Down syndrome, really sweet kid. So it's just like, you know what? Like, is this really, who you should be clowning? So I was like, all right. So I had that in my back pocket. And when Rogan is like, it's like I just refer to her as ableist. And when Rogan set me up, the thing with like having a good line set up, and I rarely do. It's very rare that I have a line in my back pocket, and this time I did, and I was like, and it's just there, so it seems like, oh, you just thought of it on the spot, but I did blurt it out. I did not expect him to set me up that perfectly, and here is my big was my concern. I thought cancel culture and all this other nonsense, that once this goes out, and this is Rogan, that I was going to get a lot of crap for it, for using that word. I could not believe that it went wide. I was getting boomers texting it to me, and it's really funny when a boomer texts you something they got, because like Dan Bongino posted it, right, the clip. And then like a boomer friend of mine is like, they forward it to me, and the text is like forward : arrow forward : arrow. Like they just don't know how to send a link. They go how to forward. So it's been forwarded 80 times. Only one person in all the comments I saw had an issue with me using the word. All the lefties were like, this is ridiculous. She was attorney general. She's a senator. You can't be a senator if you're stupid, or attorney general or lawyer if you're stupid. Fine as that. So I was really, really surprised to see. And after that, it was off to the races. That word is now used everywhere. It's in common parlance. I am glad to, just like I got Roseanne back on Twitter, and bitch owes me $1,000 now. And she better pay up. I'm glad that I did my part to reclaim a word. The next word I'm going to reclaim. So before I even said this, I was talking to a buddy of mine a couple months ago, and she said, no, that word's back in use, and so is the F term. That's the homophobic term. And I'm telling you right now how I'm going to reclaim that word. I'm going to tell you exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm going to be on some panel like Bill Maher or something with a bunch of people, and it's going to be me. It's got to be some middle-aged lady like Maureen Dowd or like Claire McCaskill, former senator, I think was in Missouri. And I'm going to take out my wallet, and I'm going to count out all my money, and I'll be like, okay, $500. Why do I have $500 in here? And I'm going to say, I will give $500 to St. Jude's Hospital for sick kids if you can go the next 10 minutes without being a complete F. And she's going to, I'm like, sorry, kids. And I'm going to put the money back in my wallet. And that is when that word is going to be reclaimed. I am telling you this right now. That is what is going to happen. And I cannot wait to have that word back in play. Rogan has a whole bit about how he loves that word because it's both a homophobic slur and how you wish your best friend happy birthday. So he's absolutely correct. It needs to be back in use. And I'm going to break that barrier. I'm basically like Rosa Parks with slurs, breaking down barriers wherever they are. So my shoulder hurts from doing this all the time, but I think it's warranted. Back to that clip. It was funny to me because Rogan and I didn't really discuss the presidential campaign outside of what you saw on the podcast. But there was some like students for Kamala Harris guy or something like that who had tweeted out, "Oh, it's not outside the realm of possibility that Rogan would endorse her." And it's just like, if you're even remotely in this space, and let's talk about, again, this is not something I've discussed with Joe. They spent like a week saying that Rogan took horse paste. It was so brazenly dishonest, because here's the other thing. If they were even being honest, I'm going to just as loosely, they would say Rogan took animal paste, because it's not like the two entities that use whatever the hell that was called, everybody blanking on it because I was up all night, are humans and horses, and there's a human version and a horse version. It is, again, anyone talking about this, if you Google it for the slightest bit of research, widely used by humans, approved by humans. The horse dosage is the same thing. It's just a heavier dosage, and he could have easily done the horse dosage. And also the idea, if you watched his clip, he goes, I went to a doctor, and it's not like as if Rogan doesn't have access to like the greatest medical minds, and especially like people on the edge who like know next gen stuff. And they told me to take these things, and I took them, and I'm fine. So he's not even saying, this is what the experts told me. This is what I did, and it worked for me. That's all. And oh my God, did you hear him? He said you should drink horse paste. So, and then they later lied. Again, they doubled down. For those that don't remember, I remember this vividly. And they said, oh, well, we said it's also used for horses. That's not what you said. You called it horse paste. You were shame. So when you are the target, and the fact that it wasn't just like Young Turks. It's not like, okay, Anna Kasparian called it horse paste. They had a laugh. They moved on. Or like it's a punchline on Colbert. Like as a one-off, as a joke, he would get it. Everyone would get it. It's a punchline. It's a joke. It was horse paste. Everywhere's horse paste, horse paste, horse paste, horse paste. And not one person in any of these media outlets was like, oh, hold on a minute. This is something that is veterinary, but also for humans. He's not. I made this joke to him in his face. To his face, I go, "What? You went? You dressed up as Dave Smith so no one could recognize you, and then you went to Petco and you like just put the horse paste in your trench coat and then took it like, like Officer Harris with Willie Brown. No, that's not what happened. So I think when that happens to you even once, like another example is Elon Musk. When there was a New York Times article being like, Elon Musk, well, South Africa, apartheid. And it's just like, okay, like when they're trying to create these links that are so brazenly dishonest, you realize, okay, this isn't just I disagree with you, or you can easily make the case. And I'm sure Rogan says this all the time. He goes, I'm an idiot. Just double check everything I say. I'm just presenting information. Please look up for yourself. But so there's an argument made like, hey, careful. Just because someone on the screen says something doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about. That's absolutely the case. But to caricature in such once it happens to you, you're like, okay, these people aren't just having a difference of opinion. They have no regard for the truth, and they will laugh about it and laugh about it with their friends, and all their audience will repeat verbatim and think they're clever. And it's just really, and if you cared about disinformation, you'd be like, this isn't just horse paste, but keep in mind you shouldn't be getting medical advice from Rogan. And you know what? Rogan didn't get medical advice from Rogan. That's the point. Rogan got medical advice from medical professionals as they were advocating. So that's just one obvious example. Anyway, once that happens, you can't really be on the side of this corporate Democrat media hackery. You could easily be like, look, Trump's crazy. The guy shouldn't be president. All this other stuff. They're both terrible. But to come out and be like, I'm for this broad, I think people forget. End of 2020, she was telling people, I'm not taking no Trump vaccine, as if Trump is in the like laboratory with the beakers and he's putting suntan lotion and he's blending up like a Diet Coke and a McDonald's meal and he's just putting it into his eye. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? So I think that was it was really kind of exciting to that everyone really understood what I was going for with that clip. And yeah, I'm being a little long-winded, but it felt really great to have a small part to play, because I think she's really just an awful person, in the sense that she's an affluent, well, she's not white, female liberal. I was much more worried though about Waltz. Folks, support for today's episode comes from iHerb. iHerb offers the best curated selection of wellness products at the best possible value across a variety of categories like supplements, sports nutrition, groceries, and beauty. This is your one-stop shop for all your health and wellness needs. What's really smart about them is they're like, hey, we'd love to sponsor the show. And I'm like, I've been a consumer of iHerb for years. I get my supplements from them because the prices are great and they get to your house really quick. And I know a lot of you people are skeptical about supplements. Ask someone who knows what they're talking about, as I did. And there are some that will greatly affect you. If there's one thing I recommend everyone takes, especially guys, make sure you're taking magnesium. It's very key for mental health. iHerb offers over 50,000 products in a variety of categories, including supplements, sports nutrition, grocery, and beauty. You can trust your products will arrive in first-rate condition because iHerb orders are shipped from climate-controlled fulfillment centers in the U.S. to ensure the quality of their products. They ship to over 180 countries. Products available at iHerb are sourced directly from the brands or authorized distributors. No third-party sellers. This is so important because when there are companies out there selling fake products, you have no idea what the ingredients are in. Our listeners get 22% off their first order when you use code MALICE at iherb.com/shop/malice. Existing customers receive 15% off. That's 22% off your first order at iherb.com/shop/malice. Use promo code MALICE. Choose iHerb, as I have for years, because wellness matters. Folks, no one wants to think about debt, but the cold hard truth of it is many of us get deeper in debt during the holidays. Last year, half of American consumers took on debt to pay for the holidays. This year could be you, could be me. It's never too early to start planning to get out, and my friends at PDS Debt can help you with a personalized solution just for you. If you're making payments every month in your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies. There's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit are accepted. Save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. I have had to deal with debt in the past. And the thing that drove me crazy is it's always there. It's always in the back of your thoughts. How am I going to pay this off? I'm not having anything in my bank account. It's so frustrating and so difficult, and it really affects your quality of life across the board 24/7. So if you have debt as a problem, PDS Debt can help you make it go away in a much more easy time. Start planning today. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/welcome. Takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/welcome. pdsdebt.com/welcome. You owe it to yourself to get this monkey off your back. Let's get back to the show. What do you think people got most wrong in terms of predictions, what happened yesterday, and what did they get most right? The worst by far, and I made a bet, and they paid off. There's this boomer fixation with Michelle Obama, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't think Michelle Obama is as awful as they make her out to be. Her whole thing with this, like, listen, if the worst thing you do as first lady is try to have there be less fat kids, I don't think that's really as horrific. Maybe they didn't execute it well, but I think that's really non-political and something other than during the Obama administration, everyone seemed to think was a good idea. And somehow when she does it, it's just, hell no, I'm giving my kids mac and cheese, IVs, and they're going to eat mayonnaise for breakfast. It was very, very odd in that respect. Now, I do agree with them that she is far more radical than Barack probably, or certainly more than he let on. I think she is very much a big player behind the scenes. I think she is really out of what those Ivy League, highly educated, highly politically motivated women do tend to be radical in their worldview, and they know how to pass, but they're much more insidious than other people might be. But it seemed very clear to me she had no interest in being president. And here's the other thing that I think boomers don't get. I almost always try to avoid using the term the left, because the left is not like a monolith. Like, these people, maybe when their views, when they talk about politics, it is a hive mind. But these are very, very, and if people understand this other context, these are ambitious sociopaths, right? Like, they really are. Like, so you get that in broadly speaking. But when it comes to, like, seeking the presidency, you think these ambitious sociopaths are gonna be like, oh, well, Michelle Obama wants it, so I'm just gonna sit here and I'm not gonna undermine her either publicly or privately. That was what's so crazy to me. Like, if, let's suppose, the DNC genuinely decide, all right, we're getting rid of Biden, like, we're gonna put in Michelle. You think Hillary and Gavin and Gretchen and Kamala and who knows how many other people, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine. She's never been elected to anything. She's never won a primary. We're just going to put her in. And now you could say, yeah, that's the same thing happened with Kamala Harris. That's not accurate, because if something happened to President Biden and he was incapacitated, Kamala Harris would assume the presidency. She was on the ticket. So it's not at all. And she was also former senator and attorney general of California. So she won actual races. Michelle Obama has never won anything. So there would be at least a logical argument to replace President Biden with Kamala Harris. And in fact, I think the logic was so strong, they didn't really know what to do about it. Now, I heard a conspiracy theory yesterday, and I'm going to share it. And again, this is a grain of salt, because I think a lot in the weeks ahead, there's going to be a lot of questions about how did we get to this point, and also the Democratic Party, because this is obviously historically completely unprecedented, something like this. It's interesting that the corporate press is just, if they cared about history and informing people, they would ask these questions, but they have no interest whatsoever. Because Biden says, okay, I'm not running again. Okay, what got you to this point? And what got you to this point that you're still okay to be president? They don't even ask. They just, well, okay, we're just not going to ask. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about some comment Trump made about Charlottesville that you have the audio of, like many years ago. We're going to talk about that permanently. So the Mark Halperin apparently is the one who broke this, and this seemed very plausible, because up until the day that Biden said he's stepping down as the nominee, he had said it's going to take an act of God. He's like, it's not happening. And why? Biden, people forget, in 2020, when the primaries started, Biden was like 5th in Iowa and like 5th in New Hampshire. So he had it was a joke. Like, this old corpse is running for no reason. He has no path. And he was right and we were wrong. Everyone who was laughing at him thinking, yeah, this guy's going to be the nominee. I donated money for him to be the nominee because I thought it would be really funny, and I was correct. But it was like, this guy has no path. Like, it was him during the debates. It wasn't as bad as this year's debate, but it was a complete joke. And he got it. So Joe knows how to play the long game. And, I hate it when people in politics are like, oh, this person doesn't have a chance to get elected or this one doesn't. In a binary system that we have, either candidate has a chance to get elected. This idea that Hillary couldn't possibly get elected is crazy. She had millions more votes. If she played her cards right, she pulled it out pretty easily in 2016. 10,000 votes in one state or another is just, she had the money. If you drop like just even $20 million, that's not going to swing 10,000 people. For F's sake, that's ridiculous. So Biden could have said, look, what here's the thing. What if you're sitting in the Oval Office, and he could say with a straight face, I got Trump out of the Oval Office once, so Hillary couldn't do it. The trajectory is I could do it again. 2 is, from a personal level, why would anyone voluntarily cede power? He's like, I won that nomination. I won all the caucuses and primaries. The voters voted for me this year, and I've earned this. It's true. So why am I stepping aside? So it was very clear. So this is what Mark Halperin apparently broke, that according to Halperin, it was Pelosi, David Axelrod, and I think Obama or Schumer. You could look this up. I don't remember the exact cabal. They called him up that day, and they go, here's the deal. If you don't step down, we're going to 25th Amendment you, and Kamala has signed off on it. And that seems extremely plausible to me. Even if that specific thing didn't happen, I would bet all the money I have, literally all of it, that they sat him down and threatened him, because he was kicking and screaming. I think his campaign manager had been on the Sunday morning shows that morning and was saying he's not going anywhere. And I don't think the guy was misinformed. I think that was the position at that point. There's no way he was him and Jill, who for the first time in her life, people care about her and her opinions and whatever, and she's important, that they're going to be like, yeah, it's really bizarre to me when people are like, oh no, he stepped down because he's such a patriot. It's just like, that's not how these people work. This guy's been in Washington since the 70s. Like, what are you talking about? So I think we're going to find out what happened there. But to finish that point, apparently, Obama had said publicly, we're going to have a process. So, and no one wanted Kamala because was senator from California. She had San Francisco support. She had Hollywood behind her, big bankroll, great resume on paper. My total role model, Camille Paglia, God help her, was like, oh, she's going to be great. I don't see it. She couldn't even make Iowa. And there were so many just amateur hour moments, like when Tulsi nuked her in the debate, right? Okay, I got nuked in the debate. Happens to everybody. What am I going to do? She goes afterwards with Anderson Cooper, not exactly an alt-right freak, and she's like, yeah, well, I'm a top-tier candidate. Like, that's not you've had an hour and a half, your campaign an hour and a half. What's your rebuttal? How do we get on track? I'm awesome and Tulsi sucks. That's not the response. The response is, here's what she got wrong about my record, and here's why my record is going to make me a great president. Blah blah. That's the move. Make it a strength for you. And she didn't even have the capacity or the wherewithal to do that. So they knew this, and they knew she wouldn't be a good candidate. So the conspiracy theory is that Biden, as an FU to Obama, because remember, Obama didn't say Biden should be the nominee in 2016. He sat on his hands, and Hillary stepped in, and Biden didn't want to go. If Obama had put Biden forward, Biden would have had a strong chance against Hillary. And Obama sat in his hands, and it was very clear that Obama wasn't having Biden's back now. So my understanding is the next day, and this again, tinfoil hat, that Biden said, "Oh yeah, I endorsed Kamala as a way to give FU to all those people who said there's going to be a process, because it's like, if you're not going to let me be the candidate, I'm going to pick the candidate, and I'm going to pick the candidate who I picked as my vice presidential candidate, even though there's not a lot of love lost between President Biden and Kamala Harris for obvious reasons. He still did pick her, and that wasn't with a gun to his head. That was a choice. Although my understanding, again, who knows, that Dr. Jill was very much opposed to this. And I hope all of you saw yesterday that Dr. Jill wore red to vote, and there's no possibility that this was done accidentally. It's not like red's her color; she's always in red. When you know what red means on election day, so that was very interesting. And I would bet money that Biden voted for either Trump or wrote in his own name. Because if I'm the president and I got kicked off the ticket, I'm not voting for her. I'm voting for me. I earned it. Huh? That's interesting. Okay.
Folks, I had stomach issues my entire life, and I've been talking about this for years. It was by taking probiotics that I became a normal human being, something I thought, well, in this context at least, something I thought I could never be. So I am delighted to talk to you about Just Thrive, which is a product that not only I'm using, but is an issue that has affected me profoundly and has changed profoundly for the better. Life can be stressful, and it's not just your mind that suffers when you're tense and anxious, because stress can make a mess of your digestion and immune system too. And you can handle it with the help of Just Thrive Probiotic and Just Calm. Say goodbye to frazzled nerves. Say hello to a steady, chill, more relaxed you. So Just Calm's exclusive mood-lifting blend is clinically proven to help you relax and breathe a little easier in as little as 4 weeks. And for the next level mood and immune support, use Just Thrive Probiotic, which is award-winning. It not only has 1,000 times better survivability than most probiotics, but this spore probiotic banishes bloat and constipation, so your gut can produce more of serotonin, which is the happy hormone. And ask yourself, if these probiotics that you see at the store have to be refrigerated, how can that probiotic survive your 98-degree body if it can't stand room temperature? Doesn't make sense. So with Just Calm and Just Thrive's probiotic, you'll have the ultimate stress-fighting duo to help you win the day every day. And with a money-back guarantee, what do you have to lose? And for a limited time, you can save 20% off site-wide at justthrivehealth.com with promo code WELCOME. And to learn more about Just Thrive Health and all their clinically backed products, don't miss my special episode where I interviewed Tina Anderson, who is the CEO and co-founder. Take control today with Just Thrive. Folks, I want to talk to you about Lumen, which is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and it gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. All you got to do, breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then it gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. Do you want to be an underwear model like me, or just look like one? Well, Lumen will help you achieve those goals. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, if you want to have recommendations that improve your metabolic health and give you information about what it is that your body is doing that'll help you improve your energy and give you better sleep and so much more, go to lumen.me/malice to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/malice for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the show.
The other big prediction, which I was wrong, I remember 2022 when I was at the Blaze. Red tsunami. Republicans are picking up House seats in Rhode Island. Every governorship's going to go red. That didn't end up happening, right? So there were a bunch of Senate seats, and as we record this on Wednesday, that are still in the bubble. Ohio, I'm shocked at. The Ohio Senate seat switched from Sherrod Brown. When you have these entrenched incumbents, even if it's a state that's gone red and they're blue or vice versa, it is really, really hard to get them out. I think people who are into politics underappreciate how nonpartisan a huge chunk of the electorate are, that they just go by brand name. And it's like, if Sherrod Brown has been in the Senate for 20 years, I'm comfortable with him. He seems like a good guy. I'm not going to switch. Yeah, I'm voting Trump on the main, but he's not a Kamala Harris figure. He's someone who loves Ohio, and I've grown up with him or whatever. I'm pulling the lever for him. So that one was a big, big shock. It's very common in many of these like formerly purple states. Ohio used to be purple, for people don't remember, to switch, split the ticket. Excuse me. The fact that Wisconsin is still in play, and the fact that Michigan is still in play, the votes haven't been counted. Pennsylvania was the shocker for me, because I thought, okay, he's got it. What's the? I'm completely blanking on the Democrat's name, because he's got a long excuse me, Casey. Like, that is a brand name that is powerful in Pennsylvania. Again, he's an incumbent. I thought, okay, like, they're going to split their ticket. Trump's margin in Pennsylvania is going to be small. And this is another example where, just like in Arizona, it looks like Kari Lake's not going to get through, that they're going to be happy to vote for the Trump on the top. They're going to stick to the Democrat in the middle, on the undercard. So I'm shocked that that's still in play. And here's the other thing that people need to appreciate. When Trump came in 2016, he had a tiny majority in the Senate, and part of the majority included people who hated him. That included John McCain. He did not, and Mitt Romney. He did not have. I'm going to look. I think it was exactly 52. I'm going to look up right now just to double check. 2016 Senate elections. There were 52. I was correct. 52 senators. So if you include Romney and McCain in that, that's really not who were happy to undermine him, and who genuinely, I think, had ideological and personal differences with him. That's really a tough majority to work with, especially in the Senate, where any one senator can really cause mischief for the whole Senate, given the rules of the Senate. So Trump's already at 52. It might be up to like 55 by the time all the counting is done. And Mitch McConnell, is getting on his pitchfork and going back to hell. So, once he's out of the way, who the heck knows what's going to happen? One of the things that is interesting is a lot of these like Jonah Goldberg bulwark types are like, all right, Trump's going to destroy the Republican Party. We have to defeat him resoundingly so we can return to so-called normal. There's no going back. Like, here's the thing. If he had gotten reelected in 2020, in my opinion, the midterms in 2022 would have been a complete massacre. There's something called the 6-year itch. It happens all the time, that after 6 years, the sitting president's party gets completely slaughtered. It happened with Reagan. It happened with Eisenhower. It happened under LBJ, considering after Kennedy and LBJ combined. It happened under Obama. It did not happen under Clinton, because the impeachment thing kind of took the wind out of their sails. But it's a very FDR. It was a very consistent thing. So not only would there have been a huge backlash, then the Republican elites would have been like, look, Trump's a joke. This is destroying our party. Like, we have to repudiate Trumpism. And they would have had a good argument for it. In the same way that Bush's complete annihilation in 2006, Republican Party's annihilation in 2006 and 2008 is a result of Bush being so unpopular, which gave Obama super majorities in both houses, which they haven't had, I think, since the 60s. George Bushism is not a thing in the Republican Party anymore. at all. Liz Cheney is campaigning for Kamala Harris. So would really have been disastrous for Trump. Who knows? 2026 might be disastrous for Trump too. But the point being, that would have been the narrative going into 2024 with a different nominee. So he has an opportunity to really do some damage. The things I had thought that he is learn disabled. Like, I thought the guy, he's clearly like largely intellectually uncurious, but I thought no one could get through to him. Whoever sat him down and prepped him for that first debate with Biden deserves some award or signature, whatever it is, because that was the first time where you see Biden owning himself. And instead of trumping Trump a twisted knife, he was very calm. He's like, I didn't understand what he said, and frankly, I don't think he did either. He wasn't going for the zingers. He was being calm, collected, professional, political, and it was not a Trump I'd seen before, and no one else had seen that either. So someone had gotten him and say, hey, look, when you're kind of flipping out and foaming at the mouth, it makes the other guy look good. For some people, especially women, hold your role, be calm. It's going to be a very different situation, and it worked. Now, the second debate, that did not happen, and she got his goat pretty good, and whoever trained her for that really should get some accolades. And so one of the biggest criticisms of him during his first presidency is I forget who said this, and I apologize for not giving you credit. He drained the swamp by hiring it. Why is the head of Exxon the Secretary of State? What are you talking about? This is just like Romneyism, corporate hackery gone amok. John Bolton? I mean, are you kidding me? Reince Priebus? Reince Priebus is hardly like terrible, but like, this is not a Trump figure. This is a Republican establishment party hack. So the fact, and I've made this point previously, and this is just so glorious. I did a book with a UFC fighter, and one of his great points is, for every move there's a counter, and for every counter there's a counter. And Thomas Sowell says there's no solutions, there's only trade-offs, right? So whenever you do something, you have to ask yourself, what's the cost? What's the downside? Because there has to be some cost. Yeah, maybe this is a great deal at the store for this book, but I'm still out the $50. There's going to be some cost, and also I'm out shelf space. There's some downside. You're giving something up. They made working for Trump completely radioactive, right? They went legally. They went after his people. Let's suppose they should have done that. And the point is, a lot of these prosecutors had prosecutorial discretion. They chose to prosecute. Careers have been humiliated. It's just like the vitriol that they and their families are subject to is just completely off the charts. So you could understand how a lot of people and then when they leave, Trump goes on Twitter and says, Sloppy Steve was a complete mess. He was crying, begging for his job back. What a loser. It's like, this is the president now attacking you on Twitter after you tried to do a good job for him. It's like, a lot of people don't want that. So that was what the situation was. But the cost means that now only the crazies want to work with him. But that's, in my view, great, because I would much rather he have the crazies than the Reince Priebuses and John Bolton, because the crazies are going to get things done. The crazies don't have skin in the game in Washington. They're not worried about what is the bureaucracy going to think about me in 10 years? Not worried about their lobbying. They're crazy. And they're like, I want to be a wrecking ball. I want to undermine this. I want to destroy. And when it comes to Washington, that is the only word that matters. So the fact that he's got Elon and Tulsi knows how Washington works from the inside out. I think she'd be superb at Secretary of State. And I think she's clearly the front runner or something similar to that capacity. RFK is crazy. Like when it comes to a lot of this health, I think one of the first things he was saying, and please double check me again, don't trust the guy on the screen, is like, we're going to look at fluoride in the water. Fine. Like, I don't care if that's your priority. Point being, if he's in charge of some kind of COVID tribunals and he's interviewing former Governor Cuomo and Whitmer and the one from Jersey and Fauci and being like, you killed all these, he knows where the bodies are buried, and he's unhinged enough, and I'm saying it in a positive way, that he's fixated, and he's like, this isn't just some disagreement. It's like, you knowingly did harm to many people, and I know the questions to ask you. That is something I'm very excited about the possibility about. I had Vivek on the show a couple of times. One thing I said, I'm like, you'd be great in charge of the FDA. here's how evil the FDA is. And again, this is not something original to me. I have friends who are investors in the health space. Let's suppose you come up with a disease that helps cure a type of cancer. To get that to market is a complete nightmare. In fact, you're not allowed to experiment on people who are dying. Even the dying people are like, I'm dying. Like, let me try this. Like, it's my long shot. I don't care. It's my Hail Mary. Like, at the very least, even if it kills me, you're going to have information that's useful toward helping other people. Nope. So they have all sorts of things that cure. It's like, we don't know what the long-term side effects are. So the short-term side effects is they die. But long term, you might lose your hair. I mean, it's so depraved. And the other thing that's crazy is some of these procedures and medicines are on the market in other countries. So it's not like the European biology is like, okay, it works for Frenchmen, but what's that going to happen to New Yorkers? And like, yeah, maybe their diet's different with the baguettes and the Nutella, but seriously, like, if you can at least do a trial here on dying people, volunteer, like, sign up, say, look, I know this might kill me. I'm giving informed consent. I'm sitting here in a breathalyzer. My family, saying goodbye to my family. I'll try anything. So what they have with medicines is, let's suppose I have this type of aspirin. Obviously, aspirin doesn't cure cancer, and now I have a super aspirin where I just added caffeine to it. Then that's easy to get to market because aspirin's been approved. But if it's an entirely new process, nope. And because of this, lots of people are dying. Vivek understands this from the inside out. That's something I'm very hopeful that they can change with regards to the FDA. And when, with the vaccine, we're just going to rush it to market, and there's going to be no long-term side effects. And we know this because we've had this vaccine for 5 minutes. Yeah. So we could just extrapolate into the future, just put into Excel or something and just multiply things. It's just absolutely unconscionable. Folks, traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat, which can lead to acne, to allergies, to stuffy noses, and it is gross. Miracle Made offers a full line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. They're infused with silver, and that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, which leaves them staying cleaner and fresher 3 times longer. No more gross odors. And by using these silver-infused fabrics, which were inspired by NASA, the Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. They're very comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Miracle Made sheets are designed for your skin. Bacteria can clog your pores. It causes breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Here's all you got to do. Go to trymiracle.com/malice to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo Malice at checkout, you get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you aren't 100% satisfied, full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/malice. Use code MALICE to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/malice to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the show. What do you think the reaction is going to be to Trump's victory in 2024 as compared to 2016? First of all, I want to address one point. I think there's very few people who have as much hatred and contempt for the corporate press as I do. I was delighted that during his acceptance speech or victory speech last night, that President Trump explicitly referred to like places like CNN and CBS as the enemy in those words. I think that's just absolutely amazing, absolutely terrific. I'm not saying everyone else is. I was very, very happy that he still understands this and has people around him who understand this. That's just wonderful. I was on Dave Smith's podcast a week or two ago, and one of the things that I was excited about, and he was as well, and obviously this is a little self-serving, is that one of the reasons the corporate press is losing its influence is before, if you're a candidate for any office, you have to go do this interview. It's cut down to 5 minutes. They could edit however they want. They can be aggressive, and they basically are gatekeepers. Now, anyone can go on in these podcasts. I've had several people as guests, obviously not presidential candidates, but senatorial, gubernatorial, senate candidates, and they talk at length. and it's not adversarial, and you could actually talk about the issues. You could ask them whatever they want, and it's much better for the politician because when you hear someone talk for an hour, you have this sense of familiarity with them, and you're like, okay, this person is someone I can understand and like, and so on and so forth. It's just really smart. So why would I, as a politician whose job it is to run my mouth, who has a stump speech and knows the issues fairly well, and I think I've got a good point of view, and I know how to sell it because I know my talking points. Why wouldn't I go on these long shows and become personalized and less of a commercial figure for the audience, and instead go to, other than if I'm like a corporate Wall Street hack like a Kamala Harris, where I know, okay, 60 Minutes is going to do my carry the water for me. So this is a real big tipping point moment in this election. So I think going forward, that's going to happen a lot, and it's going to be absolutely great, especially for people in the Republican Party. Why am I putting myself through this? Vivek did this several times. When they'd ask him a question, they just start yelling at him immediately. It's like, you're not at all interested in hearing my point of view or my perspective and elucidating that to your audience. You're just here to berate me, put me in my place, and have your audience think I'm terrible. Why am I putting myself through this? Like literally, what incentive do I have? Your audiences are dwindling. The only thing you have, which they do have, is this veneer of respectability. Like, middle America still thinks, okay, CNN is more reputable than Joe Rogan, and in many ways it is. In certain specific contexts, it is. But that is, again, when you're looking at podcasts, you're not looking for reputability. You're looking for, the host doesn't have to be reputable. The host just asking questions, and it's perfectly appropriate to be like, no, that question is incorrect. Here's how I see it, so on and forth. That back and forth is part and parcel of podcasts, as we're doing here today. So that is, I think, something that's going to go forward and be very, very healthy for our country. Here's an example that's not political. Back when I was a kid, not that long ago, if you want to have ads, you put them in the newspaper. Like, that was the go-to place to advertise your apartment, selling a car, all sorts of things. The classifieds were a huge part of the paper. Now it's not a thing. If you told someone about a classified ad, it's just like, are you joking? You put on, I don't even think they have correct. You have eBay, infinite places. I'm sure everyone here or people who know how to sell will know, no, this is the site you go to. There's no reason to go to the New York Times and hope someone picks up the paper and reads it there. It's not a thing anymore. So that is something that, so they're losing their space in our culture as the go-to place. The other thing that I'm going to praise the corporate press, because they prepared their audience, or much of them, insofar as they were able, for a Trump victory. In 2016, I think this was for them a big trauma. There's something called a narcissistic wound, which is when someone has NPD or some other kind of dark triad mental situations. When something happens which completely contradicts their self-image, they get fixated on that, kind of like a record just in a loop. And it's like, in my opinion, like, I'm the best at this. Here's a non-political example. Someone who thinks they're the best singer ever. I'm going to go in on American Idol. I don't know if that's even a show. I'm going to sing. Simon's going to get up, applaud, and everyone's going to think you'd be like, I'm amazing. Like, I'm a narcissist. That's what I believe. They go in. 2 seconds in, Simon's like, you're terrible. Even Paula's like, nah, sorry, bro. And then they can't get over this because they had this vision in their head, which was the basis of their reality. These people really believe this. And then what really happens, and they can't reconcile the two. So in 2016, a Trump win was quite literally unimaginable. And they were told constantly, every single outlet ever, there's this geology club from Harvard that never endorsed anyone in 130 years. They're endorsing Hillary. Voting for Trump is not legitimate. That was the constant message. Everyone you like and respect who has any accolades or clout, no matter where they stand on the political spectrum, they're all endorsing Hillary. And when she doesn't win, it's just like, wait a minute. Like, they did, and this is why they had such TDS, because it's not like Trump was uniquely right-wing by Republican standards. Like, there were other politicians who had his views, maybe not his bombast, but certainly to the right of him on many issues. The guy was on stage waving the rainbow flag, for Christ's sakes. And they couldn't wrap their heads around it. But this year, for months, it's neck and neck. It's not looking good for her in some regards. They were prepared. So I think there's going to be a lot less acting out, and I think the fever has broken. Now, I'm sure people are seeing plenty of TDS. I'm not saying it's nowhere. I'm just saying it's lessened, and it's not the same thing that it was in 2016 and going forward. Although I will make one little point, because when the narrative goes out, it goes out across the networks, and you're like, okay, something's up. They were laying the groundwork yesterday, and of course, it's like a binary switch. These Russia bomb threats, Russia. It seems like we're not, maybe you have to wait till January until they start rambling about Russia. So who knows if that's going to be a situation. But point being, I think it's going to be very different in 2025 than it was in 2017 when he was inaugurated for the first time. So that's something. And because I think here's the other big thing that happened. If it was a year ago and I said that Mark Zuckerberg is going to go on TV and say anything nice about Trump and not be completely ruined and have a huge backlash, that would have sounded ridiculous. If it was 2023 and Mark Zuckerberg went on TV and said, you know what? Trump was wearing some really cool shoes the other day. Cancel Facebook. I'm canceling Facebook subscription. Oh my God, you're endorsing Hitler. How are you praising someone talking about his shoes when the guy wants Janet, blah, blah, blah. No backlash for Zuckerberg. No backlash for any of these other figures. Mark Andreessen said he was going to be a former guest on the show. Said no backlash. A lot of these people had no backlash. That is and here's the other thing. It's exhausting to I know there are a lot of people hating Trump is their entire personality, and for them, they're going to stay that course. There's no question. But for a lot of these other people, it's like, okay, some of these journalists are a lot smarter than others. It's like, okay, this is our new reality. Let's grapple with it, because at a certain point, the song just gets old. Like, it's like we've heard this song. Like, people want novelty. So that is something that I think is going to be interesting to see going forward. What are you most hopeful about for the second Trump term? The one thing I am most excited about, and this is something no one can take away, and I texted Lynn last night, is that Ross Ulbricht is going to be free on day one. And I completely believe that that's going to happen. Trump had that hashtag free Ross on day one. My understanding, and I have some pretty good sources on this, is that he had it in the first term, and Attorney General Barr slow walked it. He was ready to pardon Ross. So I think that's on day one, he's going to let Ross out of jail. I believe that's one of the, here's the thing, Assange is 1,000 times more politically radioactive than Ross Ulbricht, by far. It's not even close. And if Biden could get Assange to have a deal and have no consequences for it, there were some people butthurt for a day, but it was not a scandal. Then there's no political cost. Well, and there's a political upside for Trump freeing Ross on day one. So it's only it's going to be like just 2.5 months away. So I am very, very excited, hopeful that happens. And I'm looking forward to having him as a guest on the show. So that'll be really, really great. That's something I'm very, very happy about. The fact that he's talking about just normalizing talk of abolishing Washington departments, like the Department of Education. Here's Elon. I think Elon believes it, and Elon is going to do far more to reduce the Washington bureaucracy than you could expect any Republican to. Because here's, in their defense, broadly speaking, every Republican is at the mercy of lobbyists, is at the mercy of his party hierarchy. So every single government bureaucrat serves a purpose for some corporation or nonprofit out there who will move heaven and earth to defend their little piece of the pie and be like, yeah, I agree with you, you should cut stuff, but not this job, because that sardine guy makes sure that I have, sardine tariffs, and that makes money for our sardine fishers. Every single job. That's why it's so difficult. And Elon is like, I don't care about any of these people. And I think I'm looking forward to him really doing some damage to DC. And I think Trump has enough of a Republican majority that they might actually, now, historically speaking, it's all going to be nothing. And it's just going to be some reorganization, and, little is going to be done. But at the very least, if you're putting a pause on the growth of the federal government for 4 years. I'll take whatever wins I could get. I mean, I'm just looking to January where Ross is getting out of jail. And if there's even the slightest bit of cutting of the federal government, once you lose what you've had, it's really disturbing in terms of just moral warfare. That was one of the reasons I was so excited about getting Roseanne back on Twitter, is because to take back something that they had and getting the R word back, that's like, okay, I'm losing ground. And psychologically, that's really, really disheartening. And that's really kind of something that I'm very kind of excited about. We could put politics aside for a second. I'm curious to know, what is the future holding for Michael Malice? Well, I'm working on a couple of projects I'm really excited about. There's a graphic novel I'm going to be, Eric July, who's former guest on the show, is going to be helping me put out. Eric's philosophy is to, he wants to get as much of a chunk of the book as possible so that the release can be very close to the closing of the crowdfunding, which I think is really smart, because otherwise people are waiting for a year. So we're getting those pages wrapped up. It's probably going to be maybe another 3 or 4 months. Don't hold your breath. But it's a project I'm very excited about. The art looks amazing. So that's something that's going to be really fun. In the next few weeks, I was just on Winston Marshall's podcast. I talked about this. This is going to be of interest to 2 people, so bear with me. My favorite author is E. Nesbitt. Her photo hangs above my desk, along with my other so by the way, people, I have 8 pictures above my desk, my Hall of Heroes. And the top row is like the best ones, which is Bowie, Andy Kaufman, William Lloyd Garrison, and Alexander Hamilton. It's a piece of his hair. And the bottom tier second tier is like secondary. And it's Alexander Dubček from Czechoslovakia, H.L. Mencken, Nesbitt, a handwritten poem, and the first band that I was really, really into, which is the Go-Go's. So that's all up there. So E. Nesbitt is my favorite author. And there are 2 books of hers. She died in 1924, 100 years ago this year, that were supposedly lost. Like, there's no copies left because they were just cheap novels. Many years ago, I think 10, I just found one on eBay. I got the notification. I ran from my bed to my computer. I think it was like 3 a.m. I couldn't buy it now fast enough. I have it. So I got it scanned in. I edited it for formatting, and I'm putting it out. So to be able to publish a new novel by my favorite author 100 years after she died is one of the great privileges of my life. That only leaves one out there, The Martin Mystery. Hopefully we'll find a copy of it before I die. And I've talked about this on this show with Dave Smith. The more I talked about recently with the trigonometry guys, the more professional stand-ups I've talked to, the more I think my idea of doing comedy terrorism is a good idea. So I'm working on my material. It's real. Everyone I've told it to, they just break eye contact. They're so uncomfortable, and it's exactly what I want. So I would do that in the next couple of months. I think I would have to do it at the mothership, because otherwise people are going to record it, or if I lose 3 or 4 women in that audience, and that's who you're going to lose, then it turns the whole room. So I had to figure, I'm going to talk to Joe or Adam to see if I can get a spot there. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. And also, we are thinking of doing episodes of this show live in person and having an audience there, which would be a lot of fun and very different. So we're looking at venues here in Austin and figuring it out. And I'm mixed, kind of excited, kind of not. But next week, I am flying back to New York because I'm going to be on Stossel's show. I think the guy walks on water. I just absolutely adore him. So I'm very, very excited about that. Not looking forward to go to New York, but it is what it is. Michael, we're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview? Getting a chance to catch up with you. I enjoy talking with retards. You are welcome.
Pure exploitation, ineptly made, and completely repulsive.
Hi, I'm Bobcat Goldthwait.
And I'm Sean McKittrick.
And Zero Stars is our podcast where we look at our bad reviews and...
the bad reviews of anybody who will join us here. Michael McKean, Eddie Wong.
Welcome, Eli.
Feels like a film that's shown up to the party over a decade after it ended.
Listen to, follow, rate, and review Zero Stars now. Do my bidding. And you can do that wherever you get your podcast.
I love reality TV on Pluto TV.
Same, and I love that it's free.
It gives me the freedom to watch Bravo's Real Housewives Vault channel.
I'm totally free to watch Bad Girls Club.
I'm free for Jersey Shore.
Love and hip hop, I'm free all day.
Survivor, I'm free all night.
With hundreds of free reality shows, you are totally free to watch what you love on Pluto TV.
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.